Well, hello there, TV Gold, Dan Wooton and Philip Schofield. Is it part 3, part 4, part 5? I can't keep up with it. I really can't. Look, I've got to mention this today, and the reason I've got to mention it is there's nothing happening in the news. And everything I'm hearing and seeing, be it on the internet, the news, the TV, YouTube, it's all about Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby. Well, if it's anything about Philip Schofield, you know at the front of the queue is going to be Dan Wooton. And oh my God, he is. I watched something last night that I'm going to tell you about, and I'm going to recommend you go and watch it. I'm going to spoil it, so spoiler alert here, because I'm going to tell you it all, because I just thought it was absolute gold, and it's something I just came across. It's nothing I would ever watch. But firstly, let me just say, for those that aren't in the know, I believe that old Philip overnight has released a statement regarding the difficult last few weeks he's had because of his brother and whatever else, and the difficult times he's had as a consequence of it with his partner Holly, because everybody's saying they're not happy, they're not talking behind the scenes at all, they only talk on the show, they don't like one another, she wants out, or she wants him out and a new partner. And they said the execs aren't very happy, the TV execs who have always pandered to his every need. Now they're turning on him and they're saying he's not a nice person. Now at the front of this queue has been Dan Wooton, as we all know. He did something on him a week ago that I covered where he just knocked and knocked and knocked and knocked him. Well, as I say, this press release has come out yesterday, and I'm on the internet today and I noticed Sky News have done a little piece on it. They covered it quickly. The Daily Mirror have also covered it, slightly more than Sky News, but not a lot more. Dan Wooton for the Daily Mail. Now it says Daily Mail Online. Whether he writes for the full paper or not, I don't know. Dan Wooton, oh my God, he's not just covered it. If the Daily Mirror have done a bit more than Sky, the Daily Mail with old Dan Boy have done 7 or 8 times the length of editorial that the Mirror have done. It's ginormous. He really has got it in for him. To be honest with you, I'm surprised that the Mail have let him go that far and going that hard. For all many of saying now things about Schofield, I'm a bit surprised, but that's fine, I can live with it. But that takes me to what happened last night. Unbelievable, just gold dust TV. And it's from a guy I never watch, Dan Wooton, on a station I would never watch, GB News. I didn't watch it, by the way. I'm flicking through YouTube last night and I'm looking for things on there, and they've got old Dan Boy there with 3 little circles with 3 guest faces on there, and it's discussing the merits of Philip Schofield keeping his job with Holly Willoughby. It's about 9 or 10 minutes long, I think, so I thought, well, I'll click into it, see what it's all about. So what you've got there is you've got Dan Wooton on his GB News show, I'm guessing it was last night, and he's got 3 panellists, 3 guests on there with their views on the whole thing. Your first one is old Charlie Lawson. That's Big Jim, ex of Coronation Street, the Irish fella that was always talking about the big house. Then you've got, I think he's called Jonathan Shallett, and I'm sure he's an agent. I'm certain that's his name, and I'm certain it was him. And he's an agent. And then you've got old Aggie on the end. That's the woman that used to be in a double act with another woman. They used to clean up houses, but they revelled in showing you them cleaning disgusting kitchens and disgusting toilets where they get their hands dirty and show you the way to bring them back from disgustingness to beauty. So anyway, he's got them 3 on there. Anyway, it starts with old Dan Boy doing his 2 minutes of utter vitriol coming out of his mouth about Philip Schofield and how he's the most horrible man on the TV and he's disgusting and he's this and he's that, and how Holly Willoughby's great and how Holly Willoughby could do better with somebody else, and how they're not talking to one another and how things are awful between them. And he quotes that he's got different bits and pieces of news from 8 well-known insiders, well-known people that me and you will know, not just sort of the backstage, the runners and the producers and the TV people, the executives, actually 8 well-known people who are all giving him different snippets of information and telling him how bad things are behind the scenes there and how much he's disliked. Now, as is always the way with this kind of journalist, He doesn't disclose any of the people's names, so really it's all pretty poor. But he does 2 minutes of knocking him. And then he says, he goes through first to this, I think it's Jonathan Shelley. Jonathan, what do you think of the whole thing? Do you not agree that Holly'd be much better off without him, and that he's a horrible man, and that he should be off our TV screens? This Jonathan Shelley says, well, look, all I can say, Dan, he said, is I've met him 2 or 3 times, and he's always been very courteous and very friendly. I've never really had a problem with him. Yes, but he's a horrible man. Surely you must know this. Sure you must have heard. Well, I've not heard it, says this Jonathan Shelley. And he says, well, he's going to be... Look, Holly would do better without him. It's obvious Holly would do better without him. And this Shelley says, well, maybe if he left and she got a new partner, yes, she may do better without him. You wouldn't know till you've seen her with a new partner. But on the other hand, if they got rid of her and he got a new partner, he might do better. How would we know? Oh, Dan's thinking, this is not what I want to hear. He said, look, let me just play you this. And what he does, he plays him a clip from this morning's show, as they first go into the show, where they both together stood up, letting you know what's happening that day on the show. As it turned out, I'd already seen it yesterday, and I noticed nothing there whatsoever. But Dan Wooton is adamant that you can tell that she's not happy in his company. She doesn't want to be there. She doesn't like him. She's not taking part in the conversation. She's no interest in it, and she looks really unhappy. So he plays it, and Jonathan Shelley says, well, you might think that, Dan, but I can't see that. Nothing there shows me that they're unhappy, or that there's any problems with them, that she's unhappy. She's not tearful. She doesn't look upset. She doesn't look angry. I don't see it. He's thinking, oh my God. Charlie, what about you, Charlie? What do you think? You must agree, surely he's going to be better off the show and she's going to be better on her own. Charlie says, well, I've only met him 2 or 3 times, Dan, and like Jonathan, I'll say, he's always been fine with me. I've had no problems with him at all. Old Dan Wooton's face dropped like a stone. I can't tell you. He's thinking, oh my God, we've got 2 on here now, and none of them are on my side. I've got Aggie coming last. She's a penalty kick. I know she hates him, so I'm all right there. But I didn't expect these 2 batting for old Philip Schofield. I don't mean batting for, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. So anyway, luckily for old Dan, he carries on. Old Charlie says, no, I've had no problems with him, none at all. And I would think if they were unhappy though at ITV, they don't mess about, they have you out. And if what you say is happening behind the scenes, Dan, they'll have made up their mind already. He might not have gone yet, but he'll be on his way. Don't worry about that. Dan felt a little bit better with that, but that's still not what he wants to hear. He wants Charlie knocking Schofield, because he's knocking him and he's brought these people on to do the same. Luckily for Dan, he goes on, Charlie says, look, I know I've never seen anything bad. He said, what I will say though is Eamon Holmes is a very, very good friend of mine, a very good friend. And for a long time now, he said, I won't tell you how long, but for a long time, he's not been happy with Philip Schofield. He's had it in for him, if you like. He said, and I will believe anything that comes out of Eamon's mouth. He's a very decent guy and a very straight batter, and he says it as it is. Well, Dan likes this a bit more. He's warming to this. And Dan says, yeah, they said, like, when Philip Schofield came out, he used Eamon's show that Friday. He was in with Ruth. It wasn't Schofield's thing to come back into the studio. He comes back in with Holly. He announces it live on air, and Jim says, well, not Jim, I'm calling him Jim now. It's Charlie Lawson, isn't it? It's Jim on Coronation Street. Charlie Lawson says, well, I'll be honest with you. I know a bit of inside info there. Eamon was very unhappy. He was very unhappy. He was upset that Schofield had to do it to the world or to Great Britain on his show and garner all that support and all that people feeling sorry for him. Now, as I said when I did a piece on Wooton and Schofield a week or 2 ago now, I seen that day, the day that he came out, if you like, and I do remember old Holly being his like rock and being all over him, and you know, trying to keep his chin up and trying to reassure him that people weren't going to turn their back on him because of this massive statement that, you know, he's finally admitting he's gay and blah, 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 blah. But I'm almost certain, as I said a couple of weeks ago, I'm almost certain that as well as Holly putting old Philip's head on his shoulder and maybe putting her arm around him, I'm certain he did it with Eamon Holmes as well. I'm absolutely certain. But it went along the lines of, if I'm right, they sat next to each other on a sofa and old Eamon pulled his head towards him and put his head on his shoulder and comforted him. I'm absolutely certain of that. I'm positive. Now, from what I can gather, Eamon hasn't liked him for a number of years. And especially since he's been off the show and gone down to the inferior GB News, he does nothing but backstab him. He does everything in the press, on his TV show. Anywhere people will listen, Eamon's telling others how awful Philip Schofield is. I believe in his last year or two on This Morning, Eamon was calling him, wasn't happy with him, wasn't happy in his company. And this is even before old Philip came out, as they say. Now, I would say, as I said 2 weeks ago, and I'm certain I'm right from my point of view anyway, I cannot see how Eamon Holmes, somebody that really, really does not like Philip Schofield, would have the guy's head on his shoulder and comforting him and what have you. Doesn't matter how momentous a day it is for Schofield or how down he might feel, I'm not going to be doing that for someone I don't like. If I don't like somebody, I'm not going to have their head on my shoulder and offering him that shoulder. I'm not going to do that. So if I'm right, and Eamon did, and I'm certain I'm right, I'm not having it that Eamon was unhappy he came on his show that day. He shouldn't have done what he did with him, so I've got no sympathy there for old Eamon Holmes. But anyway, we moved on from there to old Aggie. Oh, Aggie went berserk. He's an odious man, Dan. He's old Philip Schofield. Odious. I've no time for him. He has me on his show, and when I'm there, he laughs at me. He laughs behind my back. He laughs to my face. He has other people on the panel laughing at me. He name calls me. He's a horrible man. A horrible, horrible man. And everybody throughout ITV know how bad he is. It's an open secret that he's a horrible man. But still they do nothing to get rid of him. She said, and I'll tell you now, that Holly Willoughby's no better. Never mind. She'd do better with somebody else. She's no better. When he's awful towards me, she never defends him. Dan jumps in. Well, Aggie, I'm something of a friend of Holly's. I think she's a very good presenter. I like her very much. No, Aggie said. She's earning shed loads of money. She's got no talent. She doesn't protect her guests. She lets Philip do what he wants to do, say what he wants to say. She never says to him, you're out of order there, Philip, you shouldn't say that, or this person doesn't deserve that. She says nothing. She doesn't help the guests at all. Sometimes she's even laughing at the things he says. I'm not going to defend her, she says. She should be off there as well. She's no talent, no journalistic background. All of a sudden, Dan's face has hit the floor like a stone, and he's thinking, oh my God, what's going on? I've got two here that aren't backing me up. I've got one in Aggie who's going over the top, backing me up, absolutely over the top. But she's also having a massive dig at Holly Willoughby. And I'm here to say how great Holly Willoughby is and that I like her and that I want to be somebody else. It's all going Pete Tong, all of it. It's 11 minutes of TV gold. It really is. It's just brilliant. I'll bet you it ended. I bet he got off his podium, went to the researchers and said, who on earth booked them three? And who on earth didn't ask the right questions before we brought him into to that? I expected people to back me up, not to have two or three against me and for Philip Schofield, and one out of three having a massive pop at Holly, who I think the world of. I'm going to lose a good friend there. What's going on here? It was brilliant, honestly. It was really, really good. If you get a chance, watch it. It's on YouTube. I mean, as I say, I'd never watched GB News. I'd never watched Dan WOOTON. But this was brilliant. I really enjoyed it. How an interview or interviews can go wrong, it was just classic. And I think it was live, so they couldn't do anything with it. And it was all there. It does look like Dan WOOTON's going to get his way in the end. I'm sure old Schofield's on thin ice. I don't think he's got long. Whether he deserves that or not, I don't know. But I think because of the headlines he's creating, and as I said yesterday, there's some horror stories on the YouTube about him. I don't know whether or not they're true, but they are horror stories. They are pretty bad, some of them. And if they're true in any way, shape or form, Granada with what's gone on in the past with ITV with what's gone on in the past on the BBC with people like the Savills and all those kind of people, they shouldn't have Schofield on the payroll there if what we're reading is true. I don't know if it is or not. But Dan boy, you're doing your best, Dan, but maybe a little bit, is it less is more? I think less is more. Make sure you research your guests properly next time, and in your ongoing musings through the Daily Mail or Daily Mail Online about Schofield, cut it back a bit, do a bit less, because it's really looking like it's massively, massively, massively personal with you and him. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't be using your GB News and your mail to get solid to your own ends. There's got to be a bit of impartiality there, and you're showing absolutely none at all, Dan boy. Anyway, that's it from me. I thought it was brilliant last night. If you get a chance to watch it, watch it. And if you know anybody else that might be interested, pass it on to them, let them watch it. It was great.